On the news, Senate holds emergency sitting, clarifies Electoral Act Amendment Bill, retains electronic and manual results transmission. 2026 budget defense continues at the National Assembly with various ministries, departments, and agencies. Plus, Delta Speaker emerges Conference of Speakers Chairman, pledges stronger legislative autonomy. Hello and welcome to NTA Parliament News, reaching you from Abuja. I am Stella Inameti. Thanks for joining us. Senate has held an emergency plenary sitting and made slight adjustments to the wordings in the votes and proceedings of its plenary sitting last week, Wednesday, 4th February, with regards to its resolutions on the provisions of Section 60, subsection 3 in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the amendment further clarified its adoption of both electronic and manual transmission of election results.
The emergency plenary of the Senate is to further make clear its resolution on Section 60, sub 3, which makes provision for the mode of transmission of election results. The issue is captured in the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 4th February, and as the page-by-page adoption progressed, the Chief Whip, Senator Mohammed Tahir Mungunu, moved for rescission and amendments of the clause, which the Senate did and adopted the motion.
As a result of the controversy generated, whether to use the word transfer or transmission, the controversy that it was generated, in order to clear that controversy, if the electronic transmission of the result fails as a result of communication failure and it becomes impossible to transmit the result contained in Form EC8A, the Form EC8A shall, in such a case, be the primary source of coalition.
The proposal that he made in the last plenary, which was taken, I therefore second the motion.
If the electronic transmission of the result fails, if it fails as a result of communication failure, in other words, maybe network or otherwise, and it becomes impossible to transmit the result electronically in Form EC8A, signed and stamped by the presiding officer, and or countersigned by the candidates or polling agents where available at the polling units, the Form EC8A shall in such a case be the primary source of collation and declaration of results. Those in support of the motion as enunciated by Senator Mungunu and seconded by Senator Bamoro say aye. And those again say nay. The ayes have it.
But Senator Baribe moved a counter-motion calling for division so that each senator could vote individually on the clause. However, when granted the leave to proceed, he changed his mind and withdrew the motion.
Mr. President, I claim a division.
In respect of...
We need to vote individually now.
Put
it to vote! Put it to vote!
This is the beauty of democracy. Therefore, Senator Baribe has proposed that we should go ahead and vote. And for me, I think we should do so that everybody can answer his father's name.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to withdraw my motion.
The conference committee set up will therefore proceed to harmonization with the House of Representatives. Other features at plenary were two motions, one of which calls for rescue of those abducted during Waro attack in Kwara State.
Call on the federal government to redesign and comprehensively clear the Kanji Forest Reserve of criminal elements and consider the strategic establishment of security formations.
Meanwhile, Senate Committee on Special Duties has engaged agencies under its purview on their 2026 budget, among them the National Emergency Management Agency.
On this side of the aisle, we assure you, like my colleague said, we'll try our best to ensure that you receive the necessary support and funding.
The committee promised improved funding for enhanced delivery. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Nigeria's push for economic recovery and industrial expansion took center stage as the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment defended its 2026 budget before a joint committee of the National Assembly on Industry and Trade and Investment. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ikpen reports on this and other budget defense sessions involving other ministries and agencies.
A busy day in Parliament as lawmakers interrogate budget proposals of federal ministries and agencies for 2026. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Jumoke Oduwole defends her ministry's proposals, explaining that rollover of 2.55 billion naira 2025 budget into the 2026 appropriation is to deepen the nation's economic recovery efforts and consolidate gains recorded in 2024.
When we negotiate with other countries, they agree to take our goods and so that our people can sell, and they also agree to buy our goods.
We are satisfied. People have asked questions where they have concerns, and the questions have been properly answered.
Minister of Health and Social Welfare Ali Pate took his turn before the joint health committees of the House of Representatives, canvassing greater domestic funding of mass vaccination programs.
The last money that we had grant for vaccine financing was 2024. Even that was not complete. Yet we have continued to immunize Nigerian children to protect them from diseases. We have outbreaks that we protect Nigerians. We did a massive measles and rubella campaign, but the counterpart funding that Nigeria should put is always late in coming.
We'll do whatever possible if there is any way we can increase the budget for health.
Some medical directors appealed for federal government subsidy for peculiar health services.
Any person that comes to orthopedic hospital, majority of them will need one implant or the other for hip replacement, for knee replacement, and it is becoming out of the reach of the average Nigerian.
While reviewing the budget estimates of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, lawmakers describe the agencies as crucial to combating financial crimes, which they say constitute significant drain on the nation's economy.
We must acknowledge critical work they do in protecting Nigeria's economy.
My challenge is money, money, money. Last week, we had cause to have a bill, an invoice for just one item in my forensic lab for over 4 billion, just one item. Because the activities of the fraudsters are going, high-tech.
The anti-graft bodies look forward to improving their investigative and prosecutorial capacities with more budgetary releases. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikpen, NTA News.
The Senate Committee on Health has urged healthcare institutions across the country to strengthen their capacity to meet emerging challenges and ensure delivery of quality and timely emergency care to safeguard the lives of citizens. This was during a budget defense session involving the Federal Ministry of Health and NAFDAC. National Assembly correspondent Amina Seidu reports.
The committee reviewed proposed budget allocations, highlighting service delivery gaps, infrastructure deficits, and workforce capacity challenges across health institutions.
Can somebody who has accident case go straight in and get the best care? Can somebody who just has gone into a stroke or something go in there and be sure of getting care? Those kind of things. And also people who have some provision for snake bites and warning, procurement of 10,000 vials you're proposing. I don't know whether 10,000 vials of anti-snake venom, whether that will be sustainable supply for Nigeria.
Is there a way that we can initiate legislation from the ministry to the National Assembly so that we can make some rules that will cut across and everybody will have to follow?
One of the key things that we want to do now is also to increase awareness on how people on their own should respond to emergencies. Yesterday we flagged up a training system that we want to use to train Nigerians on cardiopulmonary resuscitation and basic emergency response, which we hope to be able to take to schools, to communities, cooperating with some NGOs.
In terms of the expenditure, overhead expenditure, what was budgeted and approved for us was 16.1 billion naira, and as of December last year, we came close, 15.9 billion naira. That is for overhead expenditure.
The consensus is stronger preparedness for public health emergencies and closer alignment with national health priorities to strengthen service delivery. From the National Assembly, Amina Saidu, NTA News.
The federal government has been asked to prioritize prompt release of agriculture sector funds with robust budget implementation mechanisms to safeguard national food security and reposition the sector as a strong driver of economic growth. This was at the budget defense session with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, which projects to spend 1.4 trillion naira to boost the sector in 2026. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ikben gives us an overview of various budget defense sessions in Parliament.
High cost of farming inputs and low pricing of farm produce were issues thrown up at this budget defense session of the Joint Senate and House Committee on Agricultural Services. Lawmakers request the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to strike a balance to boost the morale and productivity of farmers.
If this trend continues and funding in this year remains insufficient or is released untimely, it will significantly erode the broader microeconomic gains.
A bag of maize or guinea corn now goes for 25,000-30,000 naira, while a bag of fertilizer is going for 60,000-70,000 naira.
There are many people like me, particularly large-scale farmers, that have lost so much, and they feel discouraged.
Tractors were procured to be distributed to each of the states, to the various constituencies. Up to date, none of the tractors were distributed. What happened, Honorable Minister?
The Renewed Hope Agricultural Mechanization Program has 3 components. One of the components is what we have so far implemented in terms of funding, which is the Belarus Mechanization Program, where 2,000 tractors of different sizes, 85 horsepower, 75 horsepower, and some other combined harvesters, and many other implements, over 9,000 implements, 12 mobile workshops have all been procured under this Belarus arrangement.
From food security to national security, as the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Defense Staff take their turn to defend budgetary estimates with focus on improving intelligence gathering to boost internal security, as well as addressing shortage of personnel and operational limitations in the security forces.
It's not possible for the armed forces of Nigeria to cover everywhere. So it's important for us to enhance the capacity of other security agencies, especially, I repeat, especially the police force.
The persistence of security threats underscores the need for deeper institutional reforms and smarter deployment of scarce resources.
To the budget defense session of the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, where the minister described the approval of a 10-year national policy as a game changer to drive growth in the sector.
It continues to reflect under the Federal Ministry of Transportation. This alignment creates avoidable ambiguity in oversight, accountability, and policy coherence.
At a session with healthcare institutions and agencies, lawmakers emphasized the need for research in the face of evolving health challenges.
I want to assure you of the commitment of the committee to partner your efforts so that we can have a seamless health system at least at the tertiary level.
The EFCC, ICPC, and the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit also took turns to defend their estimates before the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Heads of Abuja-based health agencies, regulatory health institutions, federal medical centers, teaching hospitals, as well as specialty hospitals present themselves before the Senate Committee on Health, Tertiary and Secondary for the purpose of accountability and openness in the report of the 2025 budget performance and proposal of template for the year 2026. In their tents, principally Abuja-based health parastatals, alongside regulatory health institutions, federal medical centers, teaching hospitals and specialty hospitals presented the year's appropriation with certain peculiarities in their proposals. The peculiarities vary in terms of performance of the budget of the previous year, internally generated revenue, remittances, staff employment, staff training, as well as interagency collaboration, especially as it concerns NAFDAC.
There's a way this committee can help us, help the agency on how we can regulate these professions by increasing our budget.
Because of the instruction that we should only act on the 70% of what we had last year.
Beyond manpower and the delay of cash backing of budgetary releases, remarkable was the debate on growing mismatch between the number of medical graduates produced annually and centralized housemanship system.
And then we also have a council chamber that can no longer accommodate, that is not fit for purpose, especially with the digitization and the expansion of our regulatory awareness.
In terms of appropriation for 2025, there was increase in overhead, but all through the year, we were receiving exact amount that we were receiving in 2024.
So at the end of the day, despite the fact that we are generating so much, you do not have more than 10% being the actual IGR. And from this, you have to pay power bills. All of us are facing, challenges of power.
The committee therefore maintained that all MDAs must stick to the rules of the envelope system in executing capital projects, staffing, capacity building, and ensure efficient resource management, amongst other considerations.
It's also good for you to work with your state governors. By right, they should have some appropriation for the teaching hospitals and the federal medical centers within their state. It's what should be issued, come out of their budget it's like what they call a grant.
Members of the House Committee on Women Affairs have unanimously called for the prioritization of budgetary releases to the Ministry of Women Affairs to accelerate development and promote inclusive governance. This was during the budget defense of the Ministry of Women Affairs. National Assembly correspondent Ladi Bala has more.
Women's issues are multidimensional, cutting across every stratum of socio-economic development in the country. However, designing action plans aimed at driving transformation and bridging development gaps without adequate funding to support implementation is akin to a man winking at a beautiful woman in the dark. This reality formed the thrust of the presentation on the 2025 budget performance and the 2026 budget proposal by the Minister of Women Affairs, Imam Suleiman, as she appealed for improved budgetary releases to the ministry.
The question regarding external funding, we did not get any external funding to the ministry. Usually we do from the UNICEF, UN Women, but as of 2025, there was no external funding. And what I find is that there's no coordination when it comes to, funding from development partners in this space. It's an area of abuse. So NGOs will just wake up one day and say we're an NGO that deals with children. They'll go to UN and access money. And it's something that we have to come together to stop.
The minister revealed that while personnel costs recorded 96.58% release of appropriated funds, overhead expenditure received just 16%, while capital expenditure recorded 0.4% release under the 2025 appropriation. She further presented a proposed 2026 budget of 134,208,266,636 naira for consideration and approval.
So the budget proposal for 2026, as presented by the Honorable Minister, is hereby adopted as a working document for the committee for 2026 budget, as moved by our colleagues. Thank you.
From the National Assembly, Ladibala, NTA News.
It's time for a short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
From the 36 states of Nigeria to the legislative chambers where laws are made. Laws that shape healthy living, developmental strides, and challenges. Do you know that your future begins and lies with your state legislature? Stay informed, stay educated, stay connected, and stay empowered. It is a weekly affair where we keep you abreast with legislative stories that matter. From the state assemblies, only on NTA Parliament. Join us via DSTV, GoTV, StarTimes, and free-to-air platforms. NTA Parliament, strengthening Nigeria's democracy.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. The Minister of Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, at the Joint Committee on Industry and that of Trade and Investment, has assured Nigerians that the rollover 2025 budget of 2.55 billion naira in 2026 appropriation is to economic recovery and consolidating on 2024 achievements, especially on capital expenditure to improve Nigeria's GDP. She stated this during the ministry's 2026 budget defense with the Senate Joint Committees. National Assembly correspondent Issa Mohammed has this and other budget defense.
The Minister of Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, at the Joint Committee Industry and that of Trade and Investment, assured Nigerians that the rollover of 2025 budget in 2026 is for economic recovery and to achieve, especially in capital expenditure, to improve Nigeria's GDP. The committee commended the recovering processes efforts by the ministry while encouraging it to actively partner private sector for more result-oriented in line with the Renew Hope agenda. While the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Dr. Adegbeyega Oyetola, has assured Nigerians that the ministry and its subsidiaries are working hard to boost Nigeria's marine sector and diversify the economy beyond oil and increase the country's GDP. He reveals that the ministry has approved a 10-year national plan on marine and blue economy to drive growth in the 2026 budgets.
The vision continues to reflect under the Federal Ministry of Transportation. This misalignment creates avoidable and good ambiguity in oversight, accountability, and policy coherence.
Similarly, Trade Anti-Corruption Agency in Nigeria, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC), and the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit have appeared before the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes for 2025 budget appraisal and 2026 budget defense.
Quite amazed that the funding for these anti-corruption agencies is very, very poor. It's so sad.
The committee tags them on financial discipline, on recovering of Nigerian stolen money to finance developmental projects. In another development, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, has called for urgent strengthening of the Nigerian Police Force and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps to consolidate gains recorded by the armed forces in the fight against insurgency and banditry across the country. He assured Nigerians that renewed efforts were underway to tackle lingering security threats in the country as Nigeria is partnering allying countries to bridge gaps in intelligence gathering to streamline and safeguard the country's sovereignty.
In response to these expectations, the National Assembly, within the limits of available national resources, has continued to accord priority to the defense and security sector in successive budgets.
Modalities to checkmate all these challenges.
within the ambit of what, the resources available to us.
From the National Assembly, Isa Muhammad, NTA News.
Speaker, Delta State Assembly, Guwo Dennis, has emerged as chairman, Conference of Speakers of State Legislators of Nigeria at its general meeting held in Abuja. Mohammed Rabiu Ali reports that the new leadership pledges to strengthen inter-parliamentary collaboration and ensure state assemblies are autonomous.
After the 2-year term of Speaker Oyo State Assembly Adebo Edward Ogundoyin, a new chairman emerges from the South-South zone. Speaking shortly after his emergence, Speaker Guwo Dennis assured Nigerians of a renewed determination to reposition subnational governments for all-round development, emphasizing on collective responsibility beyond party affiliations.
This is an enormous task that you have given to me, and I must assure you that I'll carry out my duties diligently.
He also stressed the need for legislative independence anchored on accountability, capacity building, and improved citizens' engagement to rebuild public trust in democratic institutions.
Together, we can reinforce democracy, raise the standard of lawmaking, and bring governance closer to the people. Again, together we can build the Nigeria our citizens deserve, just, prosperous, and united.
The leadership of Conference of Speakers is a non-renewable 2-year term and rotates between speakers from the northern and southern regions of the country. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
And that's our package this evening. You can follow us for news update on our social media handles showing on your screen. Thanks for watching and do have a great evening. I am Stella Inamiti.